You know that moment when you're pouring your morning coffee, the world's quiet, and then something rips through your life like a chainsaw through a sapling? That was me, Tom Carver, standing in my Nebraska kitchen at dawn, watching Ellen Whitaker, the HOA dictator of Whispering Pines, shred my life's work with a bright red chainsaw, her designer heels sinking into my cornfield's dirt. She wasn't just cutting stock, she was torching my family's future, $500,000 worth of crops ready to harvest, gone in flames, while she stood there in a cream blazer, sipping from a mug that screamed President of Perfection. I'm a third-generation farmer on 1,000 acres of Carver land in Dawson County, Nebraska land my granddad claimed in 1925, back when a man's word was his bond and neighbors didn't lose their minds over the smell of honest dirt. My wife, Maggie, passed from cancer 3 years ago, and this farm, it's not just dirt, it's what keeps me going, keeps my kids, Lily and Nate, tied to something bigger than grief. The smell of dawn dew on corn, the hum of my old irrigation system, the way the sunrise hits those golden tassels sits my church, my therapy, my fight to keep Maggie's memory alive. But then Ellen rolled in from California, her silver BMW gleaming like she thought it was God's own chariot, ready to turn our prairie into her personal empire of cookie-cutter villas. It started small, like a weed you don't notice till it's choking your crop. A certified letter showed up, all official-looking, claiming my fertilizer, same stuff my granddad used, was an old factory assault on our precious community. Ellen, 55, fresh off a fat divorce settlement, had bullied her way in a HOA president in 6 months flat, promising to elevate property values by erasing anything that smelled like work. She called my farm a rural blight, like I was brewing moonshine instead of growing the corn that feeds half this country. "Mr. Carver," she said over the phone, her voice dripping with that fake yoga instructor calm, "your agrarian lifestyle doesn't fit our vision for a curated community." Curated, like my family's century of sweat, was a Pinterest board she could delete. Here's the kicker. Some paper pusher had screwed up years ago, accidentally including my land in her HOA's boundaries. My uncle, who sold off a parcel before I inherited, signed something without reading the fine print, a mistake that now had me caught in Ellen's web of suburban tyranny. My lawyer, Pete Daniels, broke it to me over greasy eggs at Rosie's Diner. "Tom, you're stuck playing by their rules unless we can prove fraud." Fraud. That word hung in the air like diesel fumes, heavy and toxic. Ellen didn't stop at letters. She turned my life into a surveillance state, showing up with a clipboard, a photographer, and a measuring tape, documenting my corn like it was a crime scene. "Your stalks are 8 feet, 3 inches, she'd announce, waving her stupid yellow stick. "That's 3 inches over our scenic view ordinance." I'd stare dumbfounded. "Ellen, that's how corn grows." She'd just smirk, hand me another fine dollar, 1,000 a day, unless I chopped my crop to 6 feet. I mean, who measures corn with a stick? This wasn't about views. It was about breaking me. The town split like dry wood. Folks like the Thompsons, who've run the feed store for decades, and a Larson family, with their dairy farm down the road, had my back. But half the villa crowd newcomers fleeing California's taxes bought Ellen's line that my farm tanked their property values. Mayor Clara Hayes played neutral, muttering about compromise while dodging lawsuits that could bankrupt our little town. Then things got ugly. I caught Ellen's husband, Greg, sneaking through my soybean field at midnight with surveying gear. When I confronted him, he mumbled about nighttime compliance checks and bolted to their BMW like a scared rabbit. Our border collie, Scout, started barking at silver SUVs on sight, and the local kids turned it into a game, timing his alerts like he was a furry radar system. But Ellen wasn't just a control freak with too much time. She was drowning $1.8 million in debt from her California life, banking on flipping my land to developers for a fat payout. My farm wasn't just in her way, it was her lifeline. She escalated all right. One night, my cameras caught her BMW creeping through my fields, headlights off, flattening $4,000 worth of soybeans. The next morning, I found her power washing her car, cool as ice. Ellen, you wrecked my crop last night. She didn't even blink. Maybe you should grow shorter beans, Tom. Less damage next time. That smirk, she thought she was untouchable. I wasn't just mad, I was done. Maggie's old research files, from her days studying AG law, became my weapon. She'd flagged cases of HOAs illegally swallowing farmland, and buried in her notes was gold. My granddad's 1925 water rights to Cottonwood Creek, the lifeblood of Ellen's Villa project. In Nebraska, first in time, first in right, means my claim trumped every permit they had: pools, sprinklers, sewage, all of it. My water lawyer, Jenny Larson, laid it out. Tom, you could turn their taps off tomorrow. They've got no recourse. I held that ace close, waiting for the right moment. Ellen kept pushing. She tried banning my tractors right before harvest, when losing my equipment would mean $500,000 in crops rotting in the fields. At the HOA meeting, she stood there in a silk suit, preaching about noise ordinances quieter than a whisper. Perhaps you should talk to your crops, Mr. Carver, she sneered. But then Rosie Thompson from the feed store dropped a bomb. Clutching a folder like it was the Holy Grail, she said, Ellen owes $1.8 million to creditors. She's pushing this ban to force Tom to sell for a developer kickback. The room froze. Ellen's face went from smug to scarlet, and her vote tanked when 2 board members bailed. The community rallied hard. The Thompsons started a Save Carver Farm group online, exploding to 500 members. Scout became a local legend, his barks predicting Ellen's arrivals with 97% accuracy, better than the Weather Channel. Kids built an app called Scout's Warning, and the feed store started selling Farm Defender dog treats. But Ellen wasn't done. She torched my equipment shed at 3 a.m., $20,000 in damage, gasoline trails leading straight to her BMW. Then she tried bribing the county prosecutor with $40,000 to bury my evidence. Bad move. Prosecutor Evans was already wired by the FBI. The feds were circling. Agent Mike Torres, a former Kansas farm kid, showed me bank records proving Ellen embezzled $300,000 from HOA funds, betting it all on forcing me to sell. My farm was her golden ticket out of dead end, maybe prison. Maggie's research gave me the kill shot. Her HOA's incorporation papers were faked. Original county records excluded my land, but Ellen's version, doctored with cheap whiteout, claimed it. That's federal mail fraud. 20 years if you're lucky. Pete whispered, Tom, she's not running in Hoche running a crime ring. Monday's town council meeting was D-Day. The courthouse was packed, news cameras rolling, federal agents in the front row like they were waiting for a hanging. Ellen swept in, all pink Chanel and fake confidence, with a lawyer who looked like he billed by the syllable. Pete laid out the evidence original papers versus her forged ones. The crowd gasped at the sloppy ink changes, like she'd forged a kid's report card. Prosecutor Evans stood up. Mrs. Whitaker tried bribing my office to bury this. Ellen lost it, screaming, these backward hicks are ruining progress. The judge slammed the gavel, dissolving her HOA on the spot. Then Agent Torres cuffed her, reading her rights while she ranted about peasant farmers. The crowd's cheers shook the walls. But I wasn't done. The next morning, I walked to Granddad's old dam, the one he built in the Dust Bowl days. With one turn of the wheel, I unleashed 8 million gallons of Cottonwood Creek. By noon, Ellen's Villa site was a swamp, swallowing bulldozers and mud thicker than chocolate syrup. Construction crews cursed as their machines sank, and I sipped my coffee, watching nature reclaim what was never hers. Within days, herons and beavers moved in, turning the mess into a wildlife haven. 6 months later, the Carver Farm Festival drew 10,000 folks, out-earning Ellen's villa dreams. We started the Maggie Carver Scholarship for AG students, funded by Scouts Merchandise Empire. Yep, that dog's got a bigger fan base than most influencers. Ellen got 12 years in federal prison, $3 million in restitution. Her villa sold at auction for pennies. I bought it, tore it down, and planted wildflowers that bloom every spring, a quiet food to her sprawl. This fight wasn't just about my farm, it was about standing up when someone tries to erase your roots. Ellen thought money could buy our land, our lives, but she forgot one thing. Nebraska dirt runs deeper than her bank account. My kids, Lily and Nate, are carrying this land forward, blending old ways with new solar panels, regenerative crops, all of it. Scout's still out there, barking at stray SUVs, keeping the prairies safe. What would you do if someone tried to bulldoze your life for profit? Drop your story below. HOA nightmares, land grabs, anything. Let's talk about what justice really looks like. And hit that subscribe button for more fights worth winning.